shoot. Fires from the top of the key and banks it home. The Liberty take a 2-point lead.
Welcome to Liberty FM, the podcast dedicated to all things New York Liberty. I'm Felicia, and I'm joined by my co-host and husband, Francois. This is episode 24, recapping Game 2 of the WNBA Finals between the New York Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces. This was a tough one to watch, so let's get into it.
Oh, boy. What can I say? I guess what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right? Because
we'd like it to.
What a shamble of a game for the New York Liberty. I mean, I was expecting them to fight back, and they had never lost this season back-to-back games. But this is not a punch in the mouth that they got in this game. It's a clear uppercut from Mike Tyson. That first quarter from the Aces was probably the greatest first quarter in the history of the WNBA playoff. 38 points, 3-pointers coming from everywhere. I mean, for goodness gracious, like Kia Stokes had 2 corner threes in that first half. I mean, the Liberty were just not prepared for the intensity and physicality of the Aces.
Well, I think intensity is right. You know, I think the Aces came out explosive. They came out with pace, and they always play hard defensively, and that sets up their offense. If they can get at you defensively, because they're so quick, they were just unstoppable tonight. And you got to give credit to their defense, how they prepared. The Liberty just looked like they weren't prepared for this one. And I think the Aces got in their heads a little bit, especially in that first quarter. And shots just weren't going down for the Liberty. It wasn't like they didn't have open looks as well. So, you know, the shots weren't going down for them. And they were going down for the Aces, you know. So it was tough. I think, you know, once shots actually started to come down, I mean, the lead was just, I mean, you ballooned to like a 22-point lead, I believe, in the first quarter. So I knew that obviously the Liberty can take a punch and keep going, but you know, I just think the Aces, they're the number one team for a reason. I didn't expect this in Game 2, to be honest with you. I thought it would be a tighter game. You know, I know the Aces are unstoppable on their home court. They haven't really lost regular season. I guess we can't really count the Commissioner's Cup, but for the regular season, they never lost. And the playoffs, they have not lost yet. So this was tough. This was a real tough one to watch. And just seeing the Liberty out of sync, basically. I think they just sort of look like the Liberty in the first half of this season. And that was also painful to watch, because I don't know if it's the stress of being in the WNBA Finals, the pressure, you know, wanting so bad to win that you almost let the pressure take over, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give credit to the Aces. They're not the champion for nothing. Yeah. The ball movement and how fast they were passing the ball. I mean, there were times where the Liberty defensively were not up to par, but there were times where they were a little more aggressive and, you know, more up to the task defensively. But the ball was moving so fast that even despite, you know, at times a good defense from the Liberty, they still managed to get a basket. I mean, at some point there was like such a ball movement, and then Chelsea Gray got a basket to beat the clock. And there was a great defense. I think it was Tui or Benaja that was right into her face, but even that, it wasn't enough. I mean, you could arguably compare the Aces to the Golden State Warriors in terms of the NBA, but I think that they surpass any comparisons. They are just in their own world of greatness in terms of basketball IQ, the way they play, the way they run by Becky Hammond. It is really hard to beat a team like that. And when you have the Liberty that even offensively, like, they were just forcing shots. They were not moving the ball like they used to. They were just, you know, hero basketball, hoping that someone would make a shot. I mean, at some point, Benaja had 3 missed shots, and thanks to Jonquel Jones, had other chances to score baskets, but she didn't make them. Van der Sloot, they just literally left her open, couldn't make a shot. Sabrina, completely non-existent. I mean, if it wasn't for Jonquel Jones, this could have been way, way worse in this first quarter. I mean, they started with a 19-2 to start the game. They ended up losing the quarter 38-19. I mean, down by 19 by the end of the first quarter. That was not what we were expecting as Liberty fans, and I'm sure Sandy was not expecting that. It's hard to tell if they were just not ready for the fight, not good enough. The Aces are just better. But like, I mean, at this point, even Asia Wilson, I mentioned Kia still having 2 corner frees. Asia Wilson also had a free. I mean, when you're feeling that confident, and even Asia, who's not, obviously, she's not a bad shooter, but she rarely takes frees. And she took that shot with confidence. I mean, at that point, I was like, we're going to be out there for a very, very long night. So, yeah, I mean, that quarter, you could just throw it in the trash, Kobe style. Kobe, get it out of the way, because that was a shamble of a quarter.
But I think credit to the Aces. I think what you see with the Aces, a team that has been coached very well, a team who they know each other very well on the court. I think for the Liberty, you still see miscommunications going on, people not knowing where to go, and not knowing what spot they should be in sometimes. You could tell Stewie's telling people where to be, or JJ's trying to get her team into it and telling them where to be defensively. So it's tough when you have one team that is so locked in and they can play with such pace that it overwhelmed the other team. And the Liberty did not look like this match just didn't look like it was the number 1 seed and number 2 seed going at it. This looked like a number 1 seed going against the number 8 seed almost, because that's just how off the Liberty played tonight. And I think, even though they tried to come back in the, they did fight in the second quarter, but I think that was pretty much it for this whole game. And so, I think what it also exposes in the Liberty, and that's something that, they're definitely going to have to look at in the offseason, the weaknesses with defense, especially at the guard position. And it's hard because you do have some great guards. I mean, when you look at Benijah, Sabrina, and Sloot, they are excellent guards. They're excellent offensively, but the weaknesses on defense, not so much from Benijah, because I think she's holding her own as best she can against Chelsea Gray. Some of the defense she's had on Chelsea Gray, and Chelsea Gray's still able to get shots, you just gonna have to live with. But she's doing as best she can, but unfortunately, what the Aces are doing to expose the weak links in Sabrina and Sloot, it's painful. It's painful to watch.
I mean, let's not make it like a whole completely gloom and doom podcast, even though there's not a lot to be cheerful about. We'll definitely go back into this defense from Sabrina and Sloot that you just mentioned, particularly in the second half. But there was a tiny bits of hope in this game, which was the end of the first quarter and then the second quarter. End of the first quarter, she brought Marion Johannes into the court. She had a free and a crazy pass for Stewie, and you were like, okay, this is the spike that we needed. Mm-hmm. And then miraculously, Sabrina realized that she can do other things than scoring frees and started attacking the basket. She provoked 2 quick fouls on Jackie Young and score some points at the free throw lines. So you were like, okay, we got TKO in 5 minutes, and now we're sort of like coming back a little bit. And that second quarter, I mean, I don't know. I was excited because I was like, can we make the greatest comeback in the history of the WNBA? And you got to give credit to Jonquel Jones. I mean, this woman, she
held the team together.
I feel for her because she has lost 2 finals so far with Connecticut in 2019 and last year against the Aces. She signed with the Liberty with the hope of obviously getting her first title. And she gave everything she got on that court. I mean, fighting for every single rebound.
And she was getting fouled.
She was getting
too.
fouled pretty much every single time. Yeah. The ref didn't give half of the fouls that she was receiving. Fighting for those offensive boards because her teammates couldn't make shots. Mm-hmm. Demanding the ball in the paint, getting those pick and rolls, and getting those shots in the paint. Incredible performance in the first half by Jonquel Jones. She ended up with 19 points and 10 rebounds in the first half alone. Once again with a double-double, 8 straight double-double. She pretty much has a double-double in every single playoff game that the Liberty played this season. And next thing you know, the Liberty are making a comeback, and at some point they were down by 6, I think, and they could have even had a chance to reduce that gap once again. But that is through JJ. That is through being more aggressive on defense. Moving the ball more, just showing that they want this game and want to win. And, we ended up, being down by 8 at halftime. But with the first quarter that the Aces had, you almost feel like it's a miracle that we're down by 8. And that could have been even lower than that. So, at this point, did you think that there was still a hope after, the first quarter that we had, just witnessed?
I was thinking, with JJ, yeah. I think, she definitely brought her team back into this and put the team on her back, really. As I said in the last podcast, I was saying that, the team will go as JJ and Benijah go. Unfortunately, I think, obviously JJ was going, Benijah had a rough start, but JJ put the team on her back. So kudos to her. She gave everything she could in that first half. And, being down by 8, you can chip away at that. You chipped away at a 19-point lead. At one point, I think it ballooned to 22. So they chipped it all the way down to just 6. And then at the end of the half, the Aces got another bucket to be up by 8. But yeah, you definitely felt like, okay, if they can come in the third quarter and keep chipping away, this could really be a game to go back and forth. I knew, just looking at the Aces and how they were playing, the Liberty are going to have to reset. They just needed a reset and forget Chuck quarter 1 out the window and build off of the second quarter. And so I thought, they definitely had a chance. I would say my one gripe with the coaching staff is their use of Marine Johannes. I think when you see Marine out there, she can be almost a decoy. If you want to start seeing Sabrina get some shots up, or even Benijah, they're starting to double team Marine. That leaves someone open. That's going to leave a shooter open. And they just didn't work that effectively, I think. Obviously, Marine doesn't need much space to get a shot off. When she made that 3, a hand was in her face. So, obviously they're going to double team her and try to trap her. But that also leaves players open. And so I think if Sandy could just play that up even more. But she just doesn't give Marine the minutes, I feel like, to get Marine going in a game. She has her in for a few minutes, pulls her out, brings Sloot back in. And I think you have a better shot playing Marine and Sabrina together than Marine and Sloot, or Sloot and Sabrina, because right now you need points, and the points aren't coming from your starting lineup right now, except for JJ.
Yeah. And so, at halftime, we're down by 8, a little bit of hope. But now we're going to go back to, the main topic that you mentioned, the guards of the New York Liberty. And as I'm reading just, some of the quotes from the post-game conference, something very telling. Sandy Bertnillo just said that, they spoke about how bad they started the last game in the first quarter, and the same thing happened. We talked about transition defense, and nobody was out there on anyone. She highlighted the guards struggling, and we're gonna have to talk about it. I mean, that's painful to bring this up, but the weaknesses of this game were Courtney Vandersloot and Sabrina Ionescu, and particularly Sabrina Ionescu.
I mean, that was their plan. I mean, you could tell that was the Aces' plan, was basically to expose Sabrina. And Jackie Young, as they were saying, she feasted on that matchup, and they are winning that every single time. If it is one-on-one between her and Sabrina, Jackie Young, or even Kelsey Plum, whomever is on Sabrina, the likelihood is you can get to the basket. And so you have a higher percentage of getting to the basket and getting that bucket. You know, I think for Sloot, my thing for Sloot is just you have a younger team in the Aces. And so to me, she's just getting beat just on speed. And I think that's where it comes in. And sometimes what her fault may be is she tries to go and help, which leaves one of the guards open, which you just can't do. Zone does not work because you're just not quick enough. Once they get going and that ball is popping for the Aces, the Liberty can't catch up. They just can't. It breaks their defense down, and you saw it multiple times, even if they tried it. Like, someone's scoring a three. If someone's scoring a three, either Kelsey Plum or Jackie Young. And unfortunately, in this game, it just highlighted the weaknesses on defense, especially at the guards position, with the exception of Benijah, because I think Benijah has a handful with Chelsea Gray. To guard Chelsea Gray, it is a tremendous task alone. Benijah does her best on that, and I'm not gonna fault Benijah on that part because I think she has a handful with Chelsea, and so she's doing all she can, and she needs her teammates to do all they can. But unfortunately, it is really hard to watch when they isolate, when they pick on Sabrina, and they pick on her all the time.
I mean, I love reading tweets from, current players or former players because they know the game so well that, they're usually very, very good at analyzing what's going on. And so Skylar Diggins-Smith, who, he's a free agent and...
Come to Brooklyn!
Maybe that's something that the New York Liberty is going to have to look into for the offseason. But basically, she's saying that Vegas is using Sabrina as the duck or pigeon. No shade, just terms, obviously. And, no... There's obviously the pun with the Ducks, of Oregon. But she was basically saying that what that means is that they're attacking her every time or exploding, creating mismatches with her. And so at this point, like, it's blatant. Like, they're not even hiding it. Like, every single play that they're going to run is going to start with whoever... Sabrina is guarding, and they're gonna attack you. And at some point, it was hard to watch because there were times where I'm not even sure she was even trying, or like even the Aces didn't have to try that hard to beat you with quickness or whatever. They just had to drive to the basket, and she couldn't follow. And therefore, you saw like several times Jonquel Jones being so frustrated because as the center, like, you obviously have to come and help. If you see a guy, which leaves after that Asia or someone else open or whoever's cutting to the basket, or it's like pick your poison. I'm like, am I gonna beat you with someone cutting to the basket, or I'm just gonna pass for a corner free with Kelsey Plum or Chelsea Gray? Like at that point, it's just like it's 3 against 5 pretty much. Like I mean, it's 4 against 5 definitely, but Sluter was also struggling, and it's just really hard. Like, there's nothing you can do if your guards defend at this level. And obviously the playoff and the finals is different beast than the regular season, but I felt like especially the games in New York, and maybe that's the only hope we could get, was the fact that Sabrina and Sloot were able to bring more intensity on defense, be disruptive in terms of trying to steal the ball and making it hard for the passes. But those 2 games, I mean, they've been exposed like I've never seen before in the final. And if they are at that level for Game 3, I mean, forget about getting a chance to win a single game in this series. Like, it's gonna be a sweep if we don't change anything.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be hard because Sandy, those are your starters, and you haven't really. The only people she's used so far is KT, Dolson, and Marine. And so when you think about it, it almost feels like you just don't have enough to go up against the Aces. And I feel weird saying that because I feel like you do. We've seen these 2 teams go at it, and we've seen the Liberty beat the Aces. I just think playoff-wise, it's a battle, and the Aces have definitely turned it up a notch. And it almost feels like the Liberty have not turned it up a notch. They've kind of remained where they are. And it does feel a little like the Liberty of the first half of the season. And the only bright spot right now is JJ for them. And I can understand her frustration because she pretty much did everything in the first half. But unfortunately, in the second half, she only scored 3 points. And so that it's just really hard to watch the way they pick apart the Liberty's defense and the way they do pick on Sabrina. They definitely pick on her, and so that forces others to come and help her, which leaves a person open. And with them not really missing that many shots, that doesn't help. And with the Liberty missing so many shots, especially open shots, you're just digging yourself a hole. I mean, I'm hoping that when they come back to New York that they can work on these things and be more relaxed. Again, I don't know if the pressure is getting to them, the intensity, but I think for everyone on that starting lineup, they gotta relax, they gotta have fun with this, and not, maybe they're just too tightly wound up, I don't know, but this is not the Liberty team that we have seen, especially in the second half of this season.
I mean, Jonquel Jones said after the game that they have to respond. Things are just a little too easy for the Aces. They have to dig deeper, be tougher, make things harder, come out with more grit. I mean, this is the WNBA Final. Opportunities like that are not going to come every season. Mm-hmm. We don't know what's going to happen in the offseason. Is Jonquel Jones going to decide to re-sign for, a couple of seasons for the Liberty, or just decide to go somewhere else? I mean, you would hope that Stewie would resign as well. It's funny because a couple of weeks ago you're so hopeful, and then in the split second things could just explode so quickly. That's the beauty and the drama of sports. You have no guarantee. You can have so many highs and lows in such a short amount of time. But I think that was my one concern about the Liberty to start the season. Obviously, with the acquisitions that we've had, we were there to compete with the Aces and be among the favorites. My only issue is that, the way the roster is built, I felt like we clearly lacked, guard depth in terms of guards. Because you only have Marine coming on the court for either Sabrina or Sloot. You don't have really anybody else. I mean, Jocelyn Willoughby, I wouldn't necessarily consider her as a guard. She's more like a free player. And then afterwards, you only have bigs. You only have Dawson, Sabali, who is a rookie, is not going to play a lot. You got Anshu that pretty much didn't really play this season. You have KT that I think maybe, could play a little bit more, bring that toughness on defense. But she's not a guard either. She's like a small forward, slash forward. So I feel like the way the roster was constructed, against a team like the Aces that has such chemistry with the lineup, it almost doesn't matter that they don't really have a bench because their starting lineup is so strong and their guards are so good that they can pretty much have mismatches against any team. Jackie Young is, I was reading some articles that they were saying that maybe she's the change maker of that series, because at this very moment there's nobody that can stop her.
There's no one. I mean, when she takes off to the basket, no one has been able to really stop her. I mean, JJ got a block, but that was about it. I think, for Jackie Young, she has really built her game into something spectacular, and you just have to applaud her, because starting where she began her career to where she is now, you just have to applaud her effort and just her fight and grit to get to this stage and to get to this moment. And I think that is something for all players to watch, looking at her. And I'm a Liberty fan, and I was yelling at the television tonight, Sabrina, I need you to match Jackie Young's energy. I need you to match that energy, and it just wasn't there. And I felt like Jackie Young just made her look like she was a rookie. And it was just this is painful. And this is not the Sabrina we're used to seeing. And so it's just so painful to watch. And I think, yes, hopefully with the New York crowd, they will come out and be better. But their backs are against the wall. They have to respond. JJ's right. Your backs are against the wall. You were about to get swept if you don't come through for Game 3.
I mean, if you're a hater of New York and the New York Liberty, you must be like so happy right now, because everything that is playing out right now is probably comforts all the haters online, on Twitter, and anybody that say things about Sabrina and question why Brennan Stewart got MVP. All those things are proving them right, unfortunately, and that pains me, because I love those players. That's my team, and they carry us through the whole season. But yeah, I just really hope that they come with a different mentality, that they come fighting. I mean, Brennan Stewart as well. Even though she had 14 points, 13 rebounds, she also had, once again, a poor shooting night. And overall in those playoffs, she's 36% from the field. I feel like, she's forcing a lot of shots. She doesn't let the game come to her. And, a lot of forced shots, try to attack like she has those shots where she's like sort of having a layup or sort of a jumper at the same time. And, I don't know. I feel like obviously she wants to do her best to carry her team, but
it's tough though, because, again, you do have to give kudos to the Aces offense. They collapse on people very quickly. And the minute JJ, you saw it. JJ would get the ball. Kelsey would come over real quick to try to disrupt that whole possession. She got a jump ball with JJ out of it at one point. Stewie gets the ball, same thing. Someone's going to come over. Someone rotates over really fast, and they can get back to their person very quickly. And it didn't help the Liberty that shots weren't going down, because they definitely had some open looks. It's just difficult when the shots aren't going down. You begin to force it. You get out of rhythm. You get into your head and letting the game just flow freely and come to you. And on the other side, the game is flowing freely and smoothly for the opposing team. And so, but you're also on their home court. The crowd is backing them. That crowd is loud and intense. And so, the hope is that the Liberty can come back and win games 3 and 4. They have to respond in game 3 if they want to stay in it. This is do or die for them. And so, I definitely think JJ has that chip on her shoulder. She's definitely going to fight. Also Benijah too. Benijah has to get points on the board. I know she has a huge job defending Chelsea Gray, but she's going to also have to contribute and not force shots as well. Stewie the same. You got to get at least 3 out of the 5 in double figures, but high double figures, not like 10, 10, and 10.
Listen, so far I think the stats is that there hasn't been in the history of the WNBA a team that has come back from a 2 deficit in the final. The record so far, 0 for 17. And the only time that a team forced a game 5, I think, was Phoenix Mercury. So only once a team, after being 2-0 down, won the 2 games and forced a game 5. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible, because with the New York crowds, anything can happen. Anything is possible. So I do have a slight hope, but they're gonna have to come up with a different mentality. And Sandy even mentioned, when she was asked what was the message in the locker room, she said, "I wasn't happy. It's more like I challenged my team. We're going to our home court and playing in front of our home fans. I challenged them to be better. Be angry with this effort and come back and fight." Like, that's what we're asking. Fighting like your life depends on it. And to give, this is the first final game in New York since 2002. At least for women's basketball. So, I think the Knicks, the last men's team, I think it was 1999. So that's even further. But it's a do or die situation. Like, you don't even look at game 4, game 5 at this point. It's just game 3, give everything you got, get the 6 woman the crowd going to get you like, you know, pumped up. But you gotta come up with something, because I don't want to see the Aces win their title in New York. Like, that's just like the ultimate insult.
But I also think the coaches have to look at what actually works. And
So what actually worked? Tell me, because what if you're the coach? I mean, obviously, you know, it's easier said than done. But what do you do?
It's easier said than done. But your starting lineup is not working, and I think you have a better shot at playing Marine more. I'm not saying that she has to start, but you need to bring her in earlier.
Do you think you should bring like someone like Kayla Ford as well? Or?
Yeah, definitely. You need defense. You need that defensive presence. I think you got to switch out Sabrina and Sloot at times.
Are you telling me that you would put Vandersloot and Sabrina Ionescu on the bench to start Game 3?
Not to start. No, I wouldn't bench them to start. Like, I think you bring in... Obviously, I think you should bring in KT at some point, seeing how the first quarter goes. You know, I think that just goes with the flow of the game. But I do think for Vandersloot, there needs to be a back and forth with her and Marine. I don't think you play Vandersloot the entire first quarter. I think you got to mix it up and maybe go half and half if you can. Like, Marine needs more minutes, and you know Marine is going to draw attention. And so use her as a decoy even. I mean, she's going to get shots off. I do think that. But when they start double teaming her, somebody is going to be open. Like, and the way she passes, the way she's quick with her passes, the likelihood she's going to get it to you and you're going to be wide open for a layup, you know, mid-range shot, or, you know, a three. And so I think, you know, you got to play her more. And it would be regrettable if you don't. I just think Sloot cannot keep up with the pace of the Aces. Once they go on their runs, she is left in the dust, unfortunately. It's just, that's what you've seen these last two games. I don't think is really going to change. And so, you know, the pace of the Aces is really overwhelming the Liberty right now, and they have to pick it up. And so, especially Sabrina and Sloot, they have to pick it up, because if not, your team will go home on Sunday.
All right. So Game 3 is this Sunday, October 15th, 3 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken, Eastern time. New York people, you got to show up. You got to come to the Barclays. I know, like, you know, the tickets might be expensive right now. Luckily, we have our, you know, season tickets, so we got a little discount. But you got to do everything you can. Even, like, I don't know, just showing up outside the Barclays, bring some noise.
Bring every rally towel. I think we have like 15 rally towels in our apartment.
We need Ellie, the timeless torches,
little torches, everybody.
The Seafoam Army, aka the Liberty guys, New York Liberty Fan TV.
Bring everyone.
Everybody, your family, your kids. We want everybody at the Barclays to make. I hope that we have 18,000 people on Sunday to make the loudest noise you can think of at the Barclays, to terrorize. I mean, it might not be the right word, but like to bring the ruckus to the Barclays, to lift those ladies and give them a chance to win that game. And then after that, let's move on to Game 4. You know, every game is a battle, but we cannot, go without a fight and lose 3-0. So, let's bring it up. Let's try to still have some hope. I know I was feeling really down and negative on this podcast, but it was tough to watch today. But, tomorrow is another day. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We're going to bring it back to New York, and we still have a chance. So let's bring it up. And as we always say, Felicia,
let's go Liberty!